Eagle Mountain Apostolic Resource Center. To find additional episodes of this program, as well as other content, visit eaglemountain.tv.
Hey everyone, welcome to my show, A New Era. Today we're going to be talking about love equals authority. Now, we know God's given us authority, and how we exercise that authority is through growing in love. What does it look like in the conversation of transformation and reformation to walk in love? Well, let's take it to your region. I always like to start practically because any transformation that I've been a part of is usually started with those right in front of my face, my wife, the people around me, and then also the region that I live in, and then nations and beyond. It usually starts with love and servanthood, but what does love look like in regards to authority? I'm going to get real practical for you because some people are like, yep, let's let love lead, let's love well. And we usually equate love to relationships and how well we're connecting to people or maybe how well we serve them and all of that. But really, it's so important that we understand the basics of John 3:16. Here's how it works. For God so loved the world that he gave. So it goes beyond just being nice to someone. It goes into areas of generosity. But it says, for God so loved the world. And the word for world there is actually cosmos. It's not just people. So God, when he sent his son, his motive was love, but his love was not limited to people. He actually loved the world. Now think about that. Every living thing, everything that he created. Now, if you follow me, to love your region well means that you learn to adore your region and not just the people of your region. Like God told Ezekiel when he was training him to be a prophet, he would say to the hills, say to the trees. And that's really where he trained him before he entrusted him with all kinds of end time things. He said, I want you speaking over your region. There's something that happens when you begin to walk the streets of your city, when you begin to ask the Lord to give you his love for the region that you want to see transformed. Ask for nations of the world that maybe someday he's going to send you to or already has sent you to. You literally grow in authority to the degree you continue to grow in love for that region. Yes, that includes the people of the region, but sometimes we go after people and we put a face to our love and it's limited to people and we don't adore or learn to adore a region. I love when Jesus prayed over Jerusalem. Even though they had missed their day of visitation, we get inside front row seats into his heart. Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the one who stones the prophets and kills those who are sent. How I long to gather you as a hen gathers her chicks. You can see his heart for a region. And again, yes, that includes the people of the region, but it also includes the hills, the trees, everything that's living. Now, you may be thinking, hold on, why would that include the landscape? Why would that include the trees, the hills, the terra firma, the earth? Why? And did Jesus really love the earth? Did he, or was his love just mostly centered around people? Because, the earth is not necessarily going to love you back, right? Well, except that Romans says all creation groans and eagerly awaits for the revealing or the manifestation of sons and daughters. Wait a minute, all creation? Yes. If you look up that word, it means everything that's been created, all living things, plants, animals, everything living groans and eagerly awaits for the revealing of the sons of God. Why? Because everything living was created in love, and therefore responds to love. True sons and daughters will be marked by love. It doesn't mean that love will have some tainted definition that like it does now in the world, and some of that's creeping into the church, that love is tolerance and love means you can't have hard conversations and all of that. Don't listen to that. That's all weird love. That's not Jesus' love. Jesus' love is speaking the truth in love. It doesn't deny the truth. It doesn't deny hard conversations. As a matter of fact, love leads those conversations. It means we have to learn to be unoffendable, all of those things for sure in relationships. But it goes beyond relationships. When you truly start to adore your city, you will see that, yes, you love people, but you also begin to love the region. You will begin to see your authority grow. It's hard to go somewhere around the world and really have true authority if you don't adore that region, and adore that region for the right motives. Not just because they celebrate your gift or celebrate your money or whatever you're bringing or giving, but simply because they can feel you've developed an adoration for that region. How do you do it? Here's how I do it, and here's what I say that you do. It's my example. It's real life. It's what's happened for me in Central Oregon and nations of the world that I've been in. I literally walk the city, and I ask the Lord while I'm walking the city, God, give me an adoration. Give me a love. Give me your love for this region. And you just walk the streets of your city. Ask God questions like, simple, what do you love about this city? Go to rivers, streams, lakes, parks, business areas, and just find yourself asking God questions. What do you love about this part? What do you love about the mountains? Why did you ask Ezekiel to say to the mountains and say to the trees, unless shaping culture meant speaking to things that were living beyond just people? Culture. Speaking to the 7 mountains, I say to business, flourish. I say this quarter in business, you will have a 20% increase. I bless the business community in my city, and just begin to go after every mountain. I bless government. I bless those leaders and begin to decree God's heart. And you'll find that as a conduit, not only of his word, you become a conduit of his heart. And you begin to feel what he feels as you inquire of the Lord why he loves your region so well. I remember the Lord speaking to me about our region here in Central Oregon, Bend, to be specific. And he talked about Bend. And we had a friend named Ray Hughes who came and taught about when you bend, it means you get your head below your heart. So God can speak to your heart, and you're not always trying to work it out in the paralysis of analysis. Bending means you get your head below your heart, and that way your heart is elevated to the place that God can truly speak to you, and you can dream with God. I remember asking the Lord what he loved about our region, and he talked about the juniper trees. So I looked up the species of junipers that are here in Central Oregon, and would you know they're the same ones that are in parts of Israel. And so I was like, okay, there's reasons why and little special moments where God loves the mountains, and what was he thinking when he created it, or loves the flatlands, or whatever it is. Ask the Lord what he loves about your city, and then begin to say, well, I love that too. And begin to cultivate a love. And you'll notice that what's happening as you grow in love, your authority will grow. Because at the end of the day, the revealing of Christ in you equals authority to shift the culture in your region. And if that's the end game of where you're going, bringing the love of Jesus, shifting culture, you have to have authority to do that. And there's no way to have authority just through knowledge alone, or just through being savvy alone, or having verbal advantage alone. The demonic can tell whether you truly love the region, whether you truly have authority. There's no way around it. You want to have authority not by the wisdom of man, but by love for your region and the love of God for your region. So walk your city, walk in love, and then therefore walk in authority, and let that come out through asking Jesus why he loves your region. Begin to love it too, and just actually say, I love that too. And then begin to decree what he's saying. Well, I love this region because, and you say, Lord, I love this region because, and you begin to believe the truth about your region. Maybe you've been in a region and you had a run-in with some official, and it's caused you to have a disdain. Or maybe you've seen the leadership of your region not make good decisions, and it's caused you to have a disdain for your region. Ask the Lord to wipe that clean. Forgive. Sometimes you need to forgive your region. If you've had a lot of opposition within your region, and you felt sort of your region spiritually or physically trying to spit you out, sometimes we need to forgive regions, and in order to have authority, we need to forgive officials, people within the region, but sometimes it's just the region in general. Don't miss those opportunities to understand that sometimes we need to forgive a region, and then we can begin to rebuild our love for that region, and therefore have authority. Often, you have tension in the regions that you're actually supposed to have an inheritance in. You have tension in regions that you're actually supposed to have authority in, and it's because the enemy's trying to stir it up. He's trying to put a disdain in your mind for that region, but you're actually called there, right? Maybe you have a disdain for Nineveh, and you're like, nope, I'm not going back to whatever your Nineveh is. And the Lord's like, listen, Jonah, you get back there, because I don't want to have anything between you and the region that I've called you to. You need to figure out how to develop a love for the region. Sometimes you live in those regions. Other times, they're nations of the world that God puts on your heart that you can travel to in the Spirit. Lord, I pray for them. Sometimes God will give you dreams or visions or encounters. Some people, and it's very biblical, have been actually transported to those regions, to those nations. But again, you will only have authority in those places to the degree you have love. It's not based on your gift, and it's not based on your savvy. It's not based on your verbal advantage or how much you give or have supported. It's all based on love. That's what really lasts in terms of your authority. If you want to get things done, if you want to bear fruit that remains, make sure you develop a culture of love for that region. And if you don't have it, you're just doing business in that region, stop right now and ask the Lord to build a love in your heart. And then decree the heart of God. Turn it into decrees. Shape that region. As it comes out of your mouth, you'll believe what God says about that region, and you'll actually fall in love with that region. Now, I want to go back to the truth of all creation groans. Why all creation? That means every living thing. Really? Could a plant or a tree or a lake, a river respond to my love? Well, think about the life of Jesus. He did that a ton. He was able to calm the storms because all creation would listen to him. Why? Because all creation was created by the Father in love, and they respond best to love. Maybe you've heard of law enforcement hooking up electrodes to plants who have been in harsh, traumatic environments. And then they bring the suspects in. Maybe there was a plant in a murder scene. And they bring the suspects in and line them up. And as soon as, perhaps suspect number 3 walks in, the needle that's hooked to that plant just begins to go off the charts, knowing that that plant is responding to suspect number 3 because it's alive and it remembers who brought harshness or the lack of love or hatred or anger or violence into a region. Children can sense someone who's not safe. Animals can sense someone who's not safe. You've heard of people speaking harsh things over their plants or positive things over their plants and the different growth. We've seen it where maybe a parent or a person that's in charge of someone has spoken negatively over their children and they grow up with a lack of confidence. And over here, there's a person who spoke positively and affirmed their children, and their children rose to meet the narrative that was being spoken over them. All living things, all of creation, your region will respond affirmative to you, or affirmly, if that's a word, to you, if you speak love over the region. If you don't, then that you'll feel some resistance against you in the spirit realm and in the region, and you're not even sure why. You will be much more successful in your region if you love it. And living things are aware. And again, I want to draw you back. Why are they aware? Because they were created in love. Why are they waiting and groaning and eagerly awaiting for the revealing of the sons of God? Because one of the greatest attributes of sons and daughters of God is that they love super well. Why? Because sons and daughters have been birthed in love. They know they're loved. They know they walk under the smile of God, so it's easy for them to love. And they touch flowers and plants and birds, and all living creation is following after them. I once had a friend, a musicologist, come to my region, and he came to my house, and Becky and I were going through a tough time, and he walked into the house and he goes, "Man, I can tell you've been going through a tough time lately. Tell me about it." And so we began to just be vulnerable with him, tell him what our season was like, and that it had been a season of opposition and just the enemy and just things that we were learning and navigating through. And I said, "How did you know? Did God speak that to you?" And he goes, "No, the last time I came to your house, there were songbirds everywhere. It seemed like all creation was around your house. But this time there's no birds." And here's how it works in the spirit realm. Birds are so sensitive, just like horses and cattle and all of that. They can sense when a storm is in the region, spiritually or physically, and they're the first ones that sort of scatter and leave and go find shelter. And what's happening is it's the same in the spirit. You've got all these songbirds who should be here, but because you're bracing for what you're traveling through right now, what you're navigating through, so are they. And it's caused them to go find refuge. And so we call the songbirds back. We call joy back to your spirit. We awaken the songbird in you, is what he said over us, and just begin to just sort of get our song back, our worship back. And would you know it? Now we have all creation literally at our house. It went so far where I had to call the pest control guy, and I just said, "You got to help me. I've got birds everywhere. I've got raccoons. I mean, we're like in the city. I've got all creation literally. Our plants are huge because Becky literally talks to our plants, blesses them, puts on praise music. Our fish, when she's out in the garden, the school of fish will literally come to the side of the pond that she's in, and she's just singing, praising, talking, and blessing our fish. It's amazing what happens. And we learn to do that through not only Christian Science, meaning people who were horticulturists or master gardeners, and they were Christians, and they said, "Oh yeah, talk to your plants." We learned from guys like Ray Hughes who knew about frequencies and how all creation responds and the biblical response. Oh yeah, talk to your plants. And sure enough, our plants inside and out are amazing. All super green, and it's not because we have a green thumb. It's because we learned the secret of blessing our region and creating culture through speaking to things that are living and not forgetting that side of love and who you are. So we used it. We began to sort of try it around our home. And would you know, every one of our plants, indoors and outdoors, is amazing. So this pest control guy comes over and he walks our house and he walks the inside. He goes up in the rafters because I wanted him to look, take care of some birds. And then he goes and he walks around the neighborhood. And he comes back and he goes, "Sir, can we just sit down at your table for a second? I need to talk to you." And I was like, "Okay, here we go." And he goes, "Okay, well, I've looked around your house and I've walked the neighborhood and there's an anomaly happening. Something strange is going on." And he's like, literally all creation, he said those words, "have come to your house." He goes, "I don't know what to say. I don't know if you're a religious man or what's going on here, but you literally have all creation at your house and no other house has, I've walked the neighborhood, no other house has this in the neighborhood." And he just began to talk to me about the strategy. And of course, my wife, Becky, was like, "You're not touching it. We've prayed for this." And sure enough, we have all creation at our home. We started there. That was our incubator. We proved the proof of concept that that works and that God's creation responds to God's love and it equals authority. And then we begin to take that out into our city and nations of the world. And I've prayed for nations that I've never been to. But then the Lord began to give me a heart for those nations. I began to have dreams about those nations, visit those nations in the spirit, and have authority in those nations. And you can do that too. So I want you to love people. I want you to love the people in your region and in your immediate sphere. But I want you to take John 3:16 in a new light today. For God so loved the world. That's the cosmos. That's everything created, everything living. And understand that all creation, everything created, is eagerly waiting for you to grow in love so that it can respond to you and never resist you again. Think about that. Walk in love and you'll walk in authority. Thanks for joining me. Join me on the next episode.